Would you say ideally, if you could, that in that 1 hour after waking, you would ideally avoid any caffeine as well? Has any of your research looked at that or not
No,
particularly?
actually, there are other circadian researchers who have beautifully shown that caffeine actually resets our clock. It's almost the effect of caffeine on resetting or synchronizing our clock to the outside world or to coffee drinking is as good as getting strong exposure to light. But I won't go to that extent because light has many other benefits that caffeine cannot do. So in a way, caffeine is pretty good for many people. For some people, it can be a little bit tricky. Those who have acid reflux, having a strong black coffee can exaggerate that, and people may see more serious acid reflux problem. But if you, for example, if you go back to the history of breakfast actually, people were not eating breakfast in the old days. If you go back to the history of coffee, for example, in Turkey. And in Turkey, when people started drinking coffee in Istanbul in the morning, and strong coffee, a lot of them, they started experiencing this morning acid reflux. And to reduce that acid reflux, they had little food with coffee. And that food with coffee became breakfast. If you look at the Turkish name for breakfast, that essentially means the food before your coffee, to reduce the acid reflux effect of coffee.
Yeah. Okay, so morning time, 1 hour, no food if possible. If you can have a drink, tea or coffee, keep it black.
Yeah.
What else should we be thinking about doing at the start of the day to help us robustly support this natural circadian clock that we have inside us?
Yeah, so another thing is light, because our body clock is entrained or synchronized by food, but our brain clock is actually synchronized by light. And light also reduces sleepiness. We all know that because it's very hard to fall asleep in a lighted room. And in the morning, if you want to wake up your children, then just open your windows and they are more likely to wake up. And this is very important because many of us, most of us actually don't get enough light in the morning to synchronize our brain circadian clock and to reduce sleepiness and depression. So light is a strong antidepressant, and it has been documented in many, many studies. So if you have the chance to go outside to the balcony or even open all the windows in your room, you'll get good amount of light. And when I say good amount of light, you need around 1,000 lux of light for 30 minutes to an hour to synchronize your clock and to reduce sleepiness and depression. Even on a cloudy day in England, you get 5,000 to 10,000 lux of light outdoor. And if you're sitting right next to the window, sipping your coffee or tea or drinking your, or eating your breakfast or reading your newspaper, then you're getting around 800 to 1,000 lux of light. So that's one thing that you can do during this 1 hour time. Or if you have to get ready, if you're in the bathroom, and if you have a dimmable bathroom light, crank it up. And,
crank it up.
And if you have those modern bathroom mirrors that have the light integrated, then that's actually pretty good because light falls straight into your eye, and you can crank it up to 800 to 1,000 lux at full strength, and that's a good way to get the morning light.
What about movements at this time? How does that fit into our body's natural clocks?
Yeah, so exercise is always good. I mean, most of the time. You don't have to exercise in the middle of the night, but any exercise is better than no exercise. So you can combine exercise with light exposure by going for a light walk or morning run outdoor, or if you're going to a gym, also choose a place that gets a lot of light. So you can combine both light and exercise. Exercise and circadian clock, they reciprocally interact with each other. So that means exercise has some impact, not as much impact as food or light. But the clock has a lot of impact on when is the perfect time for you to exercise. And we'll get to that as we move towards afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, so what I like about that initial morning recommendation is that you can actually hit all three bases in one go. If you are able to go for a walk in the morning, then, and you don't take a drink with you, right? Then, and you don't take a snack with you, then number one, you're not going to be eating or drinking.
Yeah.
You're going to be getting exposure to natural light, and you're going to be moving your body.
Yeah.
So that's a really powerful thing that we can do. One thing that has multiple benefits on our physiology and on our circadian clock. Before we move beyond that, you mentioned something that I found fascinating. Food helps us reset our body clock. Light helps reset our brain's clock. Can you explain what is the difference between our body clock and our brain clock?
Yeah. So almost every cell in our body, in every organ, has its own clock. And when we say clock, one thing that comes to our brain, comes to our mind, is sleep, because we go to sleep every night and then wake up. And if we think what happens during sleep, many things happen to our brain, and that can be summarized into three things. One is repair, reset, and rejuvenation. Our brain repairs itself. We know that the brain takes out its trash, and that has been shown recently. Rejuvenation, so the brain's cells connect with each other much better, synaptic strengthening, and it resets itself for the next day. So similarly, every cell in our body has to repair itself and goes through this. So now, all these clocks have to also be synchronized with each other. So that means our liver clock should be in sync with our gut clock, so that our gut has its own timing when the digestive juice is produced, and it also has a better time when it can absorb all the nutrient and the liver has to process. So liver also has a peak time or preferred time when it can process all the nutrients. So all these clocks have to be synchronized with each other. And what we find is, if somebody decides to eat in the middle of the night, wakes up with dim light and eats some food, then all these clocks, they will think, all the body clock, they'll think, maybe this person moved to a different time zone. So they'll try to reset themselves, anticipating that next day this person will also eat at the middle of the night.
So
but the brain clock doesn't reset to that food cue.
So this is why consistency is so important, because actually, so I'll tell you what happened a few nights ago. So it's Thursday morning as we record this.
Yeah.
Now, normally for me, I have a consistent lifestyle, and usually my rhythm is that I will go to bed at 9 p.m., maybe sometimes before, but roughly I'll be, in the bedroom from 9 p.m. a bit before, or asleep then, and I'll wake up around 5. I'm at my best when I do that, and have sort of rhythms around my life and my work that help me stick to that. Now, on Tuesday night, I came down to London, and I was doing my very first live podcast event on stage in the evening. So the event started at 8 p.m. This is with lights on me and my guest on stage. By the time I left the venue, it was probably about 11:15 p.m. And I had eaten early, but I got back to my hotel room. I was still wired mentally, really had a wonderful evening. And I had some, healthy kind of food in my hotel room. I had some cashew nuts. I think I had some dried mango slice as well, which we can argue whether that's healthy or not. And even though I know your research, even though I've written books referencing your research, I'm a human being, and I thought, I'll just have a little bit. So I was just unwinding with that.
Yeah.
So I was probably eating at around midnight, right?
Yeah.
I still woke up the next day at 5, even though I didn't want to. I didn't have to be up, but it's like clockwork in my body. I wake up at 5, no alarm clock.
Yeah.
I felt exhausted the following day, all day. Obviously, I had less sleep.
Yeah.
I was hungry all the time, at times when I wouldn't normally be hungry. And so I really struggled on Wednesday. This is yesterday.
Yeah.
I just wasn't with it. And I still don't feel recovered today, even though I had a pretty good night's sleep last night. So maybe you can unpick that a little bit for me.
Yeah, so that's so a few things happened. One was your body clock was not ready to get that food. So when you ate, your digestive system had already gone to sleep. Although you didn't sleep, your brain did not go to sleep. Your body's, all the other clocks have already thought that it's time to sleep. The kitchen had closed, so they were going to sleep. So when you ate that food, that was not easily digested because the gut was not producing enough acid, and then the nutrient absorption didn't happen. And essentially, you woke up with food hangover.
Yeah,
because
that's what I call it as well. You literally
food hangover. But at the same time, when all these organs are woken up by food, it's not that they will just leave the food like that. They'll try to digest, and at the same time, they'll think that, okay, maybe from tomorrow, Rangan is going to eat at midnight. So let's try to reset ourselves. So the next day, they're trying to reset themselves. At the same time, your brain is producing other hormones that help all these other organs. So there is what we call desynchronized clocks. Your brain clock and your body clocks are in different time zones, and they're trying to figure out what will be your next day's schedule. So that's why you're feeling that discomfort on Wednesday.
Yeah. And, I know you've got two brilliant books out there. The new one, The Circadian Diabetes Codes. In this one, there's something I highlighted, which is if you eat or if you behave out of sync with your clock, it can take you quite a few days to recover.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm feeling at the moment. I feel that one aberration, right?
Yeah.
Which, even though it was kind of healthy whole foods.
Yeah.
And I think this is really key. It's not just what you're eating, it's when you're eating as well. This is a key message from your work. I'm still struggling today because of what I did in that, I wouldn't say a moment of weakness, but maybe a moment of weakness on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Can you explain it? Because I think a lot of us are doing this without realizing it. We think, a little bit of this now. But actually, it can take us quite a bit of time to recover.
Yeah. So two things. One is your story clearly demonstrated timing can make healthy food junk. Timing makes, or mistiming can make healthy food junk. So by eating that healthy food in the middle of the night when your body was not expecting it, your body reacted as if you ate some junk food. It's very similar to your best friend knocking on your door in the middle of the night for a friendly chat, not even anything. And I don't think you'll be friendly with that person too much. So that's one. And then the second thing is those who are doing shift work or who travel quite a few time zones, 2 to 3 time zones, it's very normal for them to understand that when you change time zone, it can take 3 to 4 days and even sometimes 7 days to adjust your sleep-wake cycle to the new time zone. So the rule of thumb is it takes 1 day to reset your sleep-wake cycle by 1 hour. So that means if you're traveling 3 time zones, then it can take up to 3 hours. So in your case, if you are eating, say, if your dinner is usually at 6 or 7 p.m.
I'm done by 7. I'm normally by 6:30, I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh man, so that's like 6 time zones.
6 time zones. So that's what your body felt like you have traveled 6 time zones. So it will try to readjust itself for the next 6 days. But the good thing is you came back to your previous schedule, so you can reduce that jet lag. We call it social jet lag because it's not real jet lag. You are not doing jet travel, but your body thought because of social obligations and social events, you ate at the wrong time, so it's called social jet lag.
If you enjoyed that short clip, I think you are really going to enjoy the full conversation, which you can check out here.